Hello again, everybody. Welcome once more to Powerline Weekly Video Ministry. This is Richard Ike, and we're in episode number 125. And the title of today's message is Unveiling End Time Mysteries Part 4. Unveiling End Time Mysteries Part 4. Still continuing on the new series Unveiling End Time Mysteries. And of course, the foundation scripture is the same as before. Luke chapter 8, verse 17. There is nothing hidden that will not be revealed. The book of Revelation is actually hidden. And in this age, this time, this era, this period, the Lord is revealing it. Revelation is the unveiling, but unveiling is one thing, revealing is another thing. And it's a pattern that we see in the Bible, like with Daniel. He was given dreams and visions, but then an angel had to show up to reveal to him the meaning of those dreams and visions. So the dreams and visions are unveilings, and then the interpretation is the revealing. And of course, we know from Joseph interpreting dreams. The dreams were unveiling of divine matters, and then the interpretation was the revealing of the understanding of those matters. And that's how the Lord Jesus told his parables. Parables were unveiling of divine principles, and then the interpretation was the revealing of the understanding of those principles. So that's how revelation works the same way, because it's always been working. It's unveiling, but it comes coded. Now the revealing is the decoding, the understanding. So Lord is bringing understanding to these matters, and He wants us to understand it, because it blessed are those who read the words of the prophecies. So now let me get started. But before I do that, I have an addendum to make. First of all, a correction. I mentioned when I was um, talking about a gentleman I spoke with in last message that he asked me, okay, who wrote the Bible? It was written by man. I said, oh, I was going to say 40 authors, 66 books, and I said 66 authors. I meant 66 books and 40 authors. So I had to correct it after listening to it. I realized, oh, I was thinking one thing, but I said something else. I said 66 authors, supposed to be 66 books and 40 different authors. Now, I have an addendum, two, as a matter of fact. And as a result of a recent incident, as a judge on Fox News named Janine Pyro, and she questioned the motive of Muslim congresswoman, and she got suspended for that. And it was kind of like uh, throwing people off. No, why did she get suspended for questioning motive? No, it's right for to question people's motive, no, especially this day and age. But she got suspended for that, and it would seem as though uh, the Muslim community have acquired some great position of influence where there's such a thing can now be have someone like Judge Jimmy Pyro can be getting fired over there and all that stuff. And I'm like, I just want to look at the Muslim population, what percentage? I think something like 1.1% of the population, 1.1 or 1 to 1.9, something like that. 1 point something percent of the population. Like, population so small to have such an influence. The Asians are 5%. They're making the most now. In America, they don't have that kind of influence. They get discriminated in the academic system, especially in colleges, and that don't show up in the news. I said, okay, simple. The elites want to Islamize America. That's what it is. The elites, they're the ones that control reality through the television set specifically, because the news channel, which are all liberal except for Fox, they own everything. So they're all whatever agenda they want to push, all the news channels will start pushing it. Fox is under the only odd man now. But now that Disney have bought them, who knows, they will remain conservative. So okay, that's the agenda they're pushing, because how 1.1% will have such an influence where going into the academic system they want to have a hijab day in the schools and all that stuff. They get having no one to teach Islam to the kids, like something percent of the population have that kind of influence? No. The elite want to Islamize America. They want to do away with Christianity and replace it with Islam. That's what it is. That's the only way such a thing can be happening, because a tiny percentage of population like that cannot wield that kind of influence. 1.1% of the population. They're not the ruling 1%ers who are the wealthiest. I know those come from the Caucasian dynasty, the Caucasian gods. Anyway, I've told Muslims before, I know I've been discussing with Muslims, I told them we worship different gods. And they say, oh, there's only one God. That's not that's not being debated, it's the identity of the gods. It boils down to the principles. The gods by their principles. See, I've been an atheist before in the past, even though it was a long time ago, but that was an impressionable period of my life. I never forgot that. That was a very impressionable period. So I dealt with the matters of the gods on my journey out of atheism. I didn't just convert and just start believing as I do now. A friend of mine said he had to believe, and that tells you the kind of transforming work God can do, that He's real. He does such a job that it'll be hard for people to believe when you give testimonies. That's why I don't really like giving testimony. My testimonies are too mysterious. Anyway, I've told Muslims before, worship different gods. Boils down the principle, break down the principles. The Jewish principle, the Muslim principle, you see night and day, that they're different, totally different. Of course, to remember the testimony of I think he's a preacher now, but he used to be a radical Muslim in Nigeria, my home country. Radical Muslim, ones that killed Christians, the ones from the north, where you have the real solid Christians. Those ones are in the north side of Nigeria. You have the Muslims where they're being killed by Muslims. Those ones, they don't play with the faith because their lives are on the line, and they usually convert from Islam. So he was he used to be a radical Muslim that was a Christian killer. And somehow, I can't recall what it was, I guess the visions of the Lord Jesus or something like that. But then he came from a radical Muslim family. And then when he decided to become a Christian, he had to tell his family. And when they told them that, like, sure, this guy who's a killer of Christian, I want to go and join the people he used to kill, that kind of stuff. That his own mother disowned him. She said she would rather have a dead son than a Christian son. So basically, it was time to honor kill him. And she approved of the attempt on his life. But before that happened, he had shared with his wife about this. She was thinking that the phase that he's going through, that he will come out of him, and all that stuff. So one time the wife got angry, and she challenged the God of the Bible. She raised up the Bible. She said that she challenged the God to come down and fight her. She said that is the God that if He's real, or something of that nature, that if He's real, if He knows, if He doesn't exist, or if He's real, if He thinks He's strong, that He should come down and fight her. And they're challenging the God of the Bible to come and fight her. There are some things, the moment I hear, you don't have to tell me it's a Nigerian. I just know by the word spoken that that's a Nigerian right there. Only a Nigerian will have that audacity. A Nigerian Muslim from the north, from the Hausa tribe, the north. Some things are just Nigerian-oriented words. So that the God of the Bible, if He's strong, He should come down and fight her. He should come and fight her. I said, that's a Nigerian. You don't have to tell me. I just hear it. Someone said that. It's a Nigerian. What happened? 3-day notice. That's God's signature. The God of the Bible. That's His signature. So one day she fell sick. The next day she fell sick. But the second day she fell very sick. By the third day she died. That's what happens when you challenge the God of the Bible. If you're strong, come and fight me. It's a signature. Where do you see that 3-day signature? In the Bible. Jonah was in the belly of the whale 3 days. The Lord Jesus was in the grave 3 days. 3-day signature. But now there was a famous, very famous 3-day signature that people didn't pick up on. The Titanic is sank in 3 days. Why is that God's signature? Because the makers of the Titanic, when they questioned them about the ship, they said the ship was so big that not even God could sink it. It was as if God heard that thing from the throne and said, They said what? Got up from his throne, took off his robe, said, Archangel Michael, hold on to my rope. I'll be back in 3 days. I'm going to pay the earth a visit. Titanic, in 3 days, it sank. They said, the ship is so big, not even God could sink it. That's why when the Lord Jesus told the devil, when he was tempting him, it is written, do not put the Lord thy God to the test. Satan himself knew, okay, that was the end of the scenario. It's time for him to vacate the situation. So human beings should not dare venture into territory where Satan himself avoids. Well, Lord Jesus said, it is written, do not put the Lord thy God to the test. That's it. End of scenario. And the second, I then I wanted to add to this before I get to this message. I made this to some a group of young Caucasians today, and I was about to drive away from the seven. I gave one of them money. They asked for money. One asked for money. I gave him money. I was about to drive away to that, but I was compelled to go minister to them. So I called them all together. I had some change for them. Gave them change one by one. And then one of them was so happy that she gave me a hug and all that stuff. So I began to minister to them. I said, people going to give you money and you spend it or give you whatever, no material things or no whatever you need, and you spend it and all that stuff will be gone. But those things are temporary. What you have to be concerned about is eternity, the eternal things. You may not get all the things that you want in this life. You might not get all the things that you desire in this life. But one thing for sure, life is going to end. Secure eternity for yourself. Make sure you receive the Lord Jesus as Lord and Savior. That's how you secure eternity. Because nothing is guaranteed. You're not even guaranteed tomorrow. You could check out at any time. Secure eternity for yourself. And they all claiming that, that basically they've said that they grew up in church and all that. So one of them said, there's a reason his mother named him Matthew and all that stuff. So I told one of them, do you have a Bible? He said, yes. I said, do you read your Bible? He said, no, not really. I said, okay. He said he had read the whole Bible. I said, read the Bible and put it into practice. I said, you know what? Give God a year of obeying his word and see what he does. When you give God, devote yourself to 1 year. Say, do business with God. Lord is a businessman. That's what the people don't know. Say, Lord, I'm going to, for this year, I'm devoting this year to obeying your word. So at the end of the year, God will be indebted to you. Now, at the end of the year, you say, okay, Lord, now it's your turn. I've obeyed your word. Now it's your turn. He will be indebted to you. When you take him seriously, that's when he'll take you seriously. He's a businessman. That's the reason why 12 of his disciples, they were all businessmen. He didn't get anybody from the church. His 12 disciples, they were all businessmen because he chose a businessman. He thinks and acts like a businessman. So do business with God. Take his word. Read it and put it into practice. Give him a whole year, devote the whole year to obeying his word. At the end of the year, he's not indebted to you. So, okay, Lord, now it's your turn. I've obeyed your word. Now see what he does. That's my advice to everybody. If I minister anywhere, the days when I minister, if it didn't motivate people to go and pick up their Bible, to me it was a waste of time. Others had their motive. They wanted to be famous. They want to have big ministry, big church, and have big money, all that stuff. My own motive for ministering was to provoke people to go and read the Bible. That was it. I didn't have any other ambition towards the Bible except to inspire others to go and study it. And what would they inspire me to study this? Because I noticed the way things are being preached. Yeah, they sound good, wonderful, all that stuff. You entertain, but then you're satisfied, and that's it. But I was curious. I was like, is there more? Is there more to this? And campus, after I've heard the message, I'll go and look up the scriptures to see about the message that God preached. And then I'll go and talk to the person who preached it. They missed something. And it was offending preachers. And then I didn't care. I was more of a ruffian. I'm like, to me, I'll be happy. If I missed out someone comes and tells me, you missed such and such, I'll add it and go and do more research. I even build on top of it. And I will say, okay, so and so, told me this, and I made more discoveries. But others were getting offended. Pride. That's why a lot of preachers now, I don't trust preachers. I'll be honest. I know there's some good preachers there. Black preachers, particularly, I break those ones off. Black American preachers, break those ones off. I don't even hide it. But generally, I just have a lot when it comes to preachers, like, I've seen too much. If you're not provoking me to go and read the scripture, I won't trust you. If everything is about come to me, that's it. I'll write you off. If you minister, better inspire whoever is preaching, better inspire to go and start studying the scripture. That's the whole book right there. They don't touch it. So the Christians look foolish to me. One book they won't touch. Anyway, let me get to the message. Now, there's something, a pressing need that's been in my spirit. There were certain misconceptions that people have of the book of Revelation. That's where I'm going to be focusing on. I've been focusing on, I'm going to continue to focus as the Lord has led me to. I need to focus far about the book of Revelation because it's time that people begin to dig into this book. We're living in it. I'm not even aware. There are a few misconceptions. The first one I deal with is the issue of the rapture and the tribulation. Now, the famous book of the gospel that speaks of the rapture was Matthew chapter 24. Now, the big debate, as I mentioned before, is on pre-trib, mid-trib, or post-trib. There's pre-tribulation rapture, mid-tribulation rapture in the middle of tribulation, or post-tribulation rapture after the tribulation. And my position is pre-trib based on what I observed of God, His patterns, and His protocols. In Matthew chapter 14, I won't read the whole thing, but the Lord Jesus is describing when they asked Him about the end times, and He's describing all the things that were going to happen. In verse 14, He was using that time, the end, until He got to verse 14. That was the last time He used the end. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness on all the nations, and then shall the end come. Verse 14. So that's the rapture, where the rapture takes place, as far as I'm concerned. And then the rest of it begin to describe other events that shall transpire. I asked in a previous message, what model are they going by where this, there's the pre-trib, the mid-trib, and the post-trib. What model are they going by from the Old Testament or from the scriptures? Well, here the Lord Jesus gives us the model that God is using. In verse 37, I've heard it said other times, but now it just stuck out onto me because I already knew it, based on this protocol. Verse 37 says, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. It now makes clear the model that God is using, the days of Noah. Noah entered the ark. The Bible said God shut the ark, then the rain came. And just the same Noah model that was used in Sodom and Gomorrah, first Lot had to be vacated and taken to safety before Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Same model as the Noah model. They told him that they could not destroy the city while he was there. And when he did, they rushed him. Get out. Told him to keep running. Don't look back. When he was a safe distance, then the whole city got detonated and exploded. That's the Noah model, Noah formula. He said, as the days of Noah were, when I saw it concluded, it's pre-trib. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that they were before, but as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So is the Noah model that is using pre-trib. Now we go to the book of Revelation. We go to the book of Revelation. Those shall now remain. There's an event that gives credence to it. And it takes place in 14, Revelation chapter 14. Because the rapture takes place, God removes the true believers from the earth. The remainder of the believers, they're going to go through the tribulation, which was supposed to last a 7-year period. But at the end of that tribulation, there's another harvest that's going to come out of that. At the end of that tribulation, they're not the same harvest. The harvest ahead, before, which is the rapture, and then the harvest that comes out of tribulation, those are the ones who are going to suffer the persecution under the reign of the Antichrist. Now, when I inquired of the Lord, I said, if this thing is true, that it has to be in the book of Revelation. And the Lord opened my eyes and I saw it. It starts in Revelation chapter 14 and it starts in verse 14. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud. And upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Trust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. This is the rapture. And then it goes on to another aspect of the whole harvest routine. In verse 17, it says, and another angel came out of the temple, which is in heaven. He also having a sharp sickle. Wait a minute. The Son of Man, he's already harvested. He had the sickle and he harvested. Now another angel is coming out. He also having a sharp sickle, which means another harvest is coming. How do I know this? Because of what comes next. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, affliction, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Trust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse's bridle, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. So there were two harvests here in Revelation 14. The first harvest, clean. Second harvest, the angel came out in heaven, and the angel came out on the altar that had power over fire, which means affliction was coming. And what happened? When he harvested, it went into the winepress of the Lord's wrath. Those are the saints that are going to come out of the tribulation. The harvest will come out of the tribulation. So that's a harvest ahead. The rapture is a harvest. Clean, no persecution involved with that one. That was a clean harvest. That's in verse 14. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the throne, Trust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. Clean. There was nothing involved in that. It was just clean harvest. The second one had persecution attached to it. So there were two harvests. Oh Lord, open my eyes to see this. We have been reading that one harvest, there were two harvests. One didn't have persecution attached, the other had persecution attached. So there are two harvests. So that settled that matter for me, that settled that matter of the rapture. Now, on to further things that are misconceptions in the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation actually explains itself. Actually, it says something, and somewhere down the line, you have the explanation. You just have to pay careful attention to this. And one problem that people have, the same problem I had, I listened to the way people interpreted the book of Revelation, and I was taking that interpretation and bringing it into the book of Revelation itself. So I using that understanding to study the book of Revelation. Until one day I said, Lord, just minister to me through this the word. Let me just pretend I never heard anything. Just speak to me through this word. And then the Lord began to open my eyes. One area that scares people out from the book of Revelation, we'll find it in chapter 5. And when you hear it, you know why it scares people away. Chapter 5 and verse 6. And it goes, And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes. First of all, a lamb that has 7 horns and 7 eyes. That's scary enough. But it gets scarier when it now tells you what it means. So having 7 horns, 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. This is where theologians now pack their bag and say, okay, I'm moving out of the book of Revelation. See you later. We know that God has one spirit. Whereas for 2,000 years, we're still debating on the Trinity. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, the three in one. Now, Revelation drops a bombshell on us. The seven spirits of God. What? Hey, that's 7 times too far. We haven't settled the matter of the Trinity. Now, drop 7 spirits of God on us. Said, a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits, capital S. 7 spirits, you use capital S with the Holy Spirit. That's the 7 spirits, capital S. 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. What? Hey, like I said, Revelation explains itself. You just have to yield unto the Holy Spirit. To bring forth, to reveal the understanding. This is the unveiling. Now you need the revealing. As you go further down, by the time you get to 11 and 12, that's when the Lord now revealed the understanding of the 7 spirits. 11 says, and I beheld, and I heard the voice of many angels round about the throne, and the beasts and the elders, and the number of them that were, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands, saying with a loud voice, what is the Lamb that was slain to receive 1, power, 2, riches, 3, wisdom, 4, strength, 5, honor, 6, glory, 7, blessings. Those are the 7 spirits of God. That's the pattern that was established. Revelation mentions something, and then later on, it gives the explanation. The unveiling and the revealing. Unveiled the 7 spirits of God, and then revealed what the 7 spirits of God were. The spirit of power, the spirit of riches, spirit of wisdom, spirit of strength, spirit of honor, spirit of glory, spirit of blessing. Levels of ascension and promotion. You see the same sequence with the 144,000. Because Revelation later spoke of the 144,000 the Jews who were saved in chapter 7. And there were 12,000 from each tribe of Israel. Now, I mentioned the book of Revelation combination past, present, and future. That's how prophecy operates, past, present, and future. So was this the future? It seemed like it was the future. But now, as we move, we get to verse 14. At the beginning of verse 14, it mentioned the 144,000 again. They said that they had, in verse 7, said that they had the seal of God on their head. It didn't say what the seals were. But in verse 14, we find out what the seals were and what the role that the 144,000 played. Verse 14 begins like this. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their forehead. So that's the seal that was talked about in chapter 7. That's the father's name, Yahweh. It's written as YH, it's abbreviated as YHWH. They call it the Tetragrammaton. There's a big name that theologians use to make things that are simple sound complicated. Super important. Just the abbreviation. Yahweh, abbreviated to YHWH. They call it the Tetragrammaton. So when you hear it, it's like, hey, this thing like deep and sophisticated. It's just an abbreviation of God's name. That's it. Now, and it goes on, verse 2 said, I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers and harpers, harping with their harps. And they sang, as it were, a new song before the throne, and before the 4 beasts and the elders, and no man could learn the song but 144,000, which were redeemed from the earth. And verse 4 said, these are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which followed the Lamb wheresoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. First fruits unto God and to the Lamb. If you're not acquainted with the Old Testament, you won't know what these things mean. First fruit is not tithe. Some people preach that tithe. No, first fruit is the first harvest. If you get a harvest field, the first harvest that comes from it, the whole thing belongs to God. I was under the law. That was the first fruit. Then every other harvest from there, then you give the 10%, which is the tithe. But that first harvest belongs to God. That's why when the children of Israel entered the promised land, the first battle they fought, Jericho, that first victory, God told them not to touch anything. Because that was their first harvest. It was all his. That was first fruit principle. They say, oh, it's because of there was some occultist, whatever. The real reason, that was the first fruit of their victory, their first harvest. By the Lord that He had given them, the whole thing belonged to Him. That's how that works. So this 144,000, the first fruit. So either they are first fruit of the from the past, which is the first 144,000 that received salvation, possibly under the Lord Jesus' ministry, or the first 144,000 Jewish converts. Because say 12,000 from each tribe of Israel. The 144,000 that will come from the tribulation. Either way, that the first fruit, these ones are his personal property. Like the first son, according to the Lord, the first son that opened the matrix of the womb belongs to God. So if you have a first child and it's a boy, consider him a high priest. God looks at him as his property. So they were like the firstborn sons. The first fruit, the first harvest, like Jericho, the Jericho victory. It's the first victory. Say everything belongs to me. Don't touch anything. This one belongs to me. That's why they say they follow the Lamb wherever he goes, because they're the first harvest of his victory. So they're all his property. So now, from there, we now branch, since we have this understanding, we now branch into the main subject. With the short time I have left, I've stressed on so many things. I didn't get the main meat of the message. Going back to the woman riding the beast. In last message, you found two things that she was drunk with the wine, which is religion. God, oh Lord, drunk with wine, and then drunk with the blood of the saints. Now we'll find out two other things that pertains to her. She was sitting on two things. One, it says she was sitting on many waters, and then she was sitting on the beast. It says here, verse 1, and there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, which sitteth upon many waters. It says many waters here. Then in verse 15, this is verse 1, and verse 15 explains the many waters. Verse 15 says, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are the peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. The same sequence. You unveil and then you reveal. Unveil many waters and then you reveal the meaning of the many waters. Unveil the 144,000 who had the head seal, and then reveal what they were. The seal of the head was the name of God, and the 144,000 a type of first fruit unto him. Unveiling and revealing, the same pattern. Now, the same book introduces us to 666, the number of the beast. 666, connected to John 10:10, the thief coming to steal, kill, and destroy. It also introduces us to the number of God's judgment, 777, because it spoke of seven angels with the seven like plagues, carrying the seven vials of the wrath of God. So God balances equations. The enemy, the kingdom of darkness had their 666, using the man's number is 6 because it was made on the sixth day. And the 666 represent how Satan, the kingdom of darkness, uses man's system to work against God and work against man. To work against God, working against man. Using man's system, man's infrastructure, man's institution, everything that man's done to act against man, which is indirectly fighting God. But God has a counter at 777, verse chapter 15. Book of the seven angels with the seven last plagues. And at the end of the chapter, they're giving seven vials of the wrath of God. So 777 to counter 666. Anyway, so I said, I'll show you. And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, which sitteth upon many waters. Now, so go down to verse 3, it says, so he carried me away into the spirit, into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. So she's sitting upon many waters, and she's sitting upon a scarlet-colored beast. What does that mean, to sit upon? That means she's exerting authority over, she's ruling over. She's sitting upon many waters, the multitude, languages, and tongues, and all that stuff. Those who say that this is representing the Catholic Church, because of the colors she's wearing, scarlet and purple. The red and purple, which are colors that Catholic priests wear, and the gold and all that stuff. And she's called, Catholic Church called Mother Church. This is a woman, and all the gold and all the luxury and all that stuff. Catholic Church exerts its influence all over the world, different languages, cultures, and all that stuff. Now, the sitting on the different ethnic, different nations, one thing, but now sitting on the beast and all that. That means they had rule, authority over the beast. Why? It was the same way the Lord Jesus had to submit to John the Baptist when he presented himself, because it takes someone with a voice to give you a voice. John the Baptist already had the voice on the land, already had the authority, already had the command of the people's attention. So when the Lord Jesus showed up, he said, "Behold the Lamb of God that taketh away the sins of the world." And then he gave the Lord Jesus affirmation, and the voice from heaven came to give confirmation. He said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him." Boom, right away, Lord Jesus received the voice. If he had just started talking on his own, people might have said, "Who's this crazy guy yelling?" But now someone comes and so someone who is known, someone who already has a voice, and now comes and says, "Okay, everybody, I'd like to introduce you to such and such and such. He's so and such and such. Now, from here on, listen to what he has to say." Boom. Now, all of a sudden, everybody starts paying attention to them. The same person. What made the difference? Someone with a voice took their voice and gave to them. Now, everybody's listening to that person. If that person didn't give them that voice, nobody might have listened to him. Just be noise. Someone just goes, start making noise. I said, "Who's this person? Who's that? Who's this?" Someone who has a position, someone who has credibility, someone who has social standing, now comes and brings the person to the crowd. I'd like to introduce so and so to all of you. He's such and such person. All that. Hear ye him. Boom. He's giving them a voice. Now you hear him. So the beast is now doing the same thing, because he showed up out of the sea. He had to now ally himself with somebody who already has a voice, so that he can receive a voice. The woman already had a voice, because that's how she's able to get the whole drunk with the man of her fornication, which means she has an influence, worldwide influence. She's riding the beast, so that the beast will receive the same influence that the woman has over the world. He wants the worldwide influence, so he had to ally himself with somebody that has worldwide influence in order to exert that same worldwide influence. Now, when the woman speaks, "This is such and such and such, hear ye him," because she has worldwide influence. Now the whole world now hear the voice of the beast. That's how that works. It's the John the Baptist formula. But as it is, Satan uses instruments and casts them away. And he used the instrument and cast them away, because eventually the woman was the 10 heads, the 10 horns, which are 10 kings who had not yet received their kingdom. Eventually they killed, they burned the woman with fire after they received their kingdom. Say, "Okay, we don't need it any longer. We received their kingdom, we received their influence. Boom, burn her with fire." That's what it says later down. And the 10 horns, first of all, it says, "And the beast that was," in verse 11, "and the beast that was," no, verse 12, "and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast." They're politicians, kings without kingdoms. So there's the beast with 10 heads, 7 heads, and 10 horns. They know that the politicians are allied with it. But in verse 16, now they've received the kingdom, and then they turn against the woman. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hit the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled." So they receive the kingdom. After they receive the kingdom, they don't need it any longer. And the question now is the identity of the woman. It says the Vatican. However, there are those who claim that the beast from the earth, because there's the dragon, the beast came from the sea, and the beast from the earth. The beast from the earth will be the Pope. I was thinking that, okay, the beast from the earth will be the Pope. I know it was the Pope, not the Antichrist, definitely. But then, if the beast from the earth is the Pope, and the Pope is a part of the Vatican, If the Vatican of the Church is destroyed by the beast, and the Pope will be destroyed along with it. Either that or the Pope will turn against the Church, the Vatican, if the Pope is the beast from the earth. Because I'll get to verse 18, it's talking about the fall of Babylon, the judgment of that came upon Babylon. But then in the beginning of verse 19, it says, after these things I heard a great voice of much people in heaven saying, Hallelujah, salvation and glory and honor and power unto the Lord our God. For true and righteous are his judgments. For he had judged the great whore which did corrupt the earth with her fornications, and had avenged the blood of his servants at her hands. So the great whore had been destroyed. However, the prophet was still around, because towards the end of that, in verse 20, it says, and verse 19, chapter 19, verse 19, it says, and I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and the armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse. That's the Lord Jesus now, and his armies. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. So if it was the Pope, then they get destroyed along with the whole, which is the supposedly the Vatican. So will the Pope turn against the Vatican? That's the question. There are details that people miss, because the false prophet, that means he's going to turn against the Vatican. So he will agree to his destruction, because if he's still in alliance with the Vatican, then it will be part of the destruction, be destroyed along with it. But if the Pope is the false prophet, then that means he's going to turn against the Vatican. I have to make sense of all this. Either that or the false prophet is someone else that has not been identified yet. If the Pope is going to remain in alliance with the Vatican or the Catholic Church, then the false prophet has not been identified. Then we are wrong about all this thing, except with the exception of the Vatican, the Catholic Church being the mystery Babylon. So as the false prophet, the Antichrist and the false prophet is concerned, they're not the Pope. If they're the Pope, and the Pope, if the false prophet is the Pope, then the Pope is going to turn against the Catholic Church. That's what it means. But either way, as we see at the end, as I come to the conclusion of the message, since I'm running out of time, the beasts and the false prophet, they're going to be cast in the lake of fire. However, one person out of their unholy trinity will be missing. The devil. The Bible says he's going to be put in, cast into a bottomless pit for 1,000 years. Lord Jesus is going to establish his kingdom, rule on the earth for 1,000 years. And after that, the testing will begin again. The devil will be released. And he'll do the same thing he's always done. Cause rebellion on the earth, and the battle of Armageddon will be fought. And after that, he will lose that battle. And then he'll be going to be cast into the lake of fire to join the beast and the false prophet. So they will be there 1,000 years before the devil comes to join them. The unholy trinity will complete themselves in their place of eternal damnation. But where I want to end today is on in Revelation chapter 21, how it begins. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, and for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. The coming of the New Jerusalem, that's God's ultimate ambition, to bring his kingdom down to earth. As when the Lord Jesus prayer, when he gave the God's prayer, that kingdom come, that's when it to be answered. However, there was a big mystery here. At the time when I was involved in hydrocombustion, I built a hydrocombustion unit. Basically, it's using electrolysis to separate hydrogen and oxygen and turn water into fuel. So that attracted some unwanted attention, so I suspended it to the extent that I forgot all about it. There are certain things that I don't want to have to deal with. I'd rather leave certain things alone, certain innovations alone. If it attracts the wrong attention, I just leave it alone. I won't even want to touch it any longer. But it's been some years that I've dealt with that project. However, in the middle of doing that project, something occurred to me. I said, the entire ocean If you split hydrogen and oxygen on the entire ocean, the whole ocean will be a tank of gas. What's one lightning strike? The whole thing will explode and the earth will like be turned to a ball of fire. And the Lord ministered to me, that's how the earth is going to be destroyed by fire. What happened in 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10? Let me read it quickly. 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10, and then I'll be officially out of time. 2 Peter 3:10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Earth being burned with fire. That's how the earth is going to be consumed with fire. As I think it, no, it must be my imagination. And the Lord reminded me of this passage, Revelation 21, verse 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first earth and for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there were no more sea. The Lord said to me, what do you think happened to the sea? I almost screamed. I almost screamed. So that was the fuel that was used to consume the earth with fire. Then between Revelation chapter 20 and 21, that's where 2 Peter 3:10 happens. That's why there was no more sea. The sea was the fuel used to consume the earth with fire. So the experiment I was doing, it must have been God that planted that thought in my mind. I thought about the ocean like, if you just break the electromagnetic bond between hydrogen and oxygen in the ocean, the entire ocean will be a huge tank of gas. Lightning strikes this thing, the whole earth will explode. Means that to me, that's how the earth is going to be consumed with fire. I don't know how this one's my imagination. The scripture just came to me right away. There was no more sea. What do you think happened to the sea? Say, I was experimenting.